Hi, I'm
Good.
Johnny. I'm a global artist ambassador for FENIX360, and I'm joined today by the multidisciplinary music artist and Long Island Piano Entertainer of the Year, Joe Pickett. Hey, Joe, how are you?
Good, John. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, man, it's
How you
great to
doing?
see you. Yeah, I really appreciate you and looking forward to sharing some of your work, Joe. All right, everyone, let's tune in to Joe Pickett and Paying the Price for Spring.
My father was much older than the other dads back then. He'd learned much more and gone to places where they'd never been. And I was just a boy whose head was filled with notes and noise. Through the din I listen now and strain to hear his voice. 'Cause the child is the father, and I watch my own son push to break the bonds of childhood. So I asked him, where's your rush? He showed that I'm irrelevant, and listening is a chore. My father was intelligent, I've seen this show before.
Hey,
Okay.
Joe, that was beautiful, man. I loved hearing it. And listen, you obviously have multiple talents. I'm hoping forward to I'm looking forward to hearing about your journey as an artist. And can you tell me where you're from and how this journey began?
Sure, John. I'm from Queens, New York, Queens and Long Island, New York. Grew up in Queens, playing in garage bands and high school dances and all that. And all my friends that I used to play with are doing other things now. And I'm the only one who's still doing this, probably because it's the only thing I know how to do. But my dad was a musician. He was my first influence. He was a genius. He could look at a whole score for orchestra and hear the whole thing in his head. So hopefully like a little chip of that kind of fell my way. And he was my first influence. He was my first piano teacher. He started me on piano when I was about 3 years old. And you'd think I'd be a lot better by now, but that's another story.
Well, your dad is amazing influence in your life, you know what I mean? And still, rings true, I'm sure, in all your work.
And like my dad always encouraged me, whatever I wanted to do. Like he would have bought me a trumpet if I wanted to play the trumpet.
That's what
Why
you
would I
wanted
play the
to
trumpet?
do,
Yeah. Yeah. Being a musician, he got it, So that's pretty cool. And then, as I got older, I started writing and people seemed to like what I was doing and kind of just built from there. And I've been very lucky. Got a lot of good friends and a lot of people who like what I do.
Joe, it's so cool. I love the fact that your dad was such an inspiration and was this musician and inspired you and encouraged your own art. Obviously it's running in your blood, and to have actually, the ability to have multiple instruments that you play, the guitar, the piano, to have that ear. This is discipline that, it starts with some form of passion, but you know what I mean? And then it's hard work and it's practice and it can be grueling and all of that.
People don't get that. People don't
Yeah.
get that. It makes me laugh. People say, "Oh man, you play music, you make your money playing music." Oh man, they have no idea. And I speak for all my fellow musicians. The time we put in practicing and learning and just everything. People have no idea.
Oh, yeah.
We make it look easy. We make it look easy.
That's true. And you know what I mean? And the rest of us look and like in awe and just go, oh man, that God gave him that. And it's just easy street for that guy.
Well,
no,
the part of
like,
God giving it to you, that's definitely right. That's
right.
definitely
It
true.
is a practice and it's almost like a spiritual, it's Zen in some way. It's like, because it's so repetitious in order to get that skill and to actually now start bringing and blending in these creative inspirations that you're creating something unique and original. And that's amazing. So Joe, let me ask a question, with your dad as a major influence and, were there other artists that you modeled or, really were inspired by that helped kind of influence your own sound?
Big variety, everything from Led Zeppelin to Chick Corea, prog rock like Yes, the Beatles, Billy Joel, who's like my favorite songwriter. People put Billy Joel in a bag with like Springsteen and Elton John. But if you listen to Billy's stuff, his versatility, his lyrics, to me anyway, like he's miles ahead of those guys. And like because I won this Long Island Piano Entertainer of the Year thing, like I'm kind of waiting to hear from Billy, because I have a feeling when he hears about that, he's going to be pissed off. But,
I love it, man.
I'm hoping to hear from him. Billy, if you're out there, you know, we can talk about it. You know, I'll share the accolades with you. I don't mind, you know.
Well,
speaking of famous people and things like that, here's the story for you. On one of my earlier CDs, I did a cover version of a Paul McCartney tune, Long and Winding Road. It's a Beatles song, but it was a McCartney composition. And me and a buddy of mine went to actually see McCartney. We got front row seats. Where I get the money from, I don't know. My ex-wife was gonna, that's another story. Anyway, so yeah, we can cut some of that out. Anyways, we went to see McCartney, and I handed his guitar tech a copy of the CD that I had just finished that had Long and Winding Road on it. And I said, here, you know, what I want you to do, tell Paul that I recorded his song. I think I owe him like $40 or something, because there's like rights fees and stuff. I said, tell Paul to meet me after the show. I'll give him his money. And you know what's funny? Paul never showed up. I mean, John, if somebody owed you $40, you'd go, I know I would. Right. I couldn't believe it. But the funny thing that happened was the version that I did of Long and Winding Road was piano, just solo piano, a pseudo classical kind of a thing. And a few months later, McCartney came out with the remastered Let It Be album, which he called Let It Be Naked, which was Let It Be without all the orchestration that, was it Phil Ramone? Not Phil. Anyway, that had been put in there that he never liked. So he put out a version called Let It Be Naked without all the orchestration. And I like to think, and I'm probably just deluding myself, but I like to think that he got the idea for that kind of unplugged version of Let It Be from my unplugged version of Long and Winding Road, which of course is a song on the Let It Be album. So Paul, again, I'm here. We can talk.
That's right, exactly. Well, hopefully this will be the channel that brings Paul and Billy out of the woodworks, and you guys can collab.
In my dreams.
I'm hearing you, Joe, but listen, those dreams that you're talking about, it's so amazing because we have brushes with greatness. We have inspirations of greatness within us. And sometimes these are magnetic qualities that puts you in the same realm with someone. You know what I mean? I'm a surfer, so I love surfing, right, Joe? And so,
cool.
You know, what my favorite surfer, like my hero is Laird Hamilton. And like on a couple of occasions now, I've had like brushes with Laird Hamilton. You know, it's one of those things where it's just kind of uncanny in your own life experience. Amazing things happen. And
I haven't met,
yeah,
I haven't met Billy yet, but I met, you know, I've worked with a couple of other of his bandmates. One of his bass players, Skylar, we did some things together, and Richie Canada, his former sax player. In fact, Richie and I recorded a version of New York State of Mind several years ago.
Oh, nice.
And so I've had those brushes that you're talking about, John. I know what you mean. I've worked with Chuck Berry, worked with Leon Russell, worked with Jason Bonham, some other very cool people. My buddy, I can mention his name, my buddy Ricky Bird, who I've known since like 8th grade. He was Joan Jett's guitar player, really cool guy. Wow. He does some great work with people in recovery and stuff. So I've had the good fortune to work with some very cool people. Yeah.
Oh man, that is sweet, Joe. And listen, you know, a lot of the bands you talk about and just like, you know, the rock and roll influences and, you know, Yes, and some of the others that you mentioned. I mean, these are all bands that I love, you know, and grew up listening to. And you can't be a classic rocker without, you know, that Led Zeppelin being at the top of the list. And like,
absolutely,
you know, it's just so inspiring to me, brother. And I think about all the joy I spent with my friends and you know, in listening and ripping to these songs that the radio were so important to us. And now it's just expanded into this digital realm that there's so much more global audience that we can attract to our music and to our art. And so that's real powerful. Now, let me ask this question. Speaking of which, do you use your social media channels to help promote? And do you have something that you're working on right now, Joe, that's coming up?
Great question, John. Well, I'm a creature of the 20th century, but fortunately, I know some young people.
Good.
So they, you know, they're able to do all. I got all my stuff on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on whatever all those other things
Usual
are.
Suspect. Yeah, I'm hearing you.
You know, Yeah, you know, so, but you got to spell the name right. It's Joe Piket. It's 5 letters, P-I-K-E-T. Sometimes people put an extra C in there. They put a few extra T's at the end, and it won't work that way. In fact, I wrote a song about that. It's called The Spell. That's another one. And anytime somebody spells my name wrong, I send them a copy of that, and I force them to listen to it. So that's another thing. But what you're saying about listening, growing up, listening to all different kinds of music, that's something that was always really important to me. One of the things I loved about the Beatles and about Billy Joel is their versatility. You know, they played in a lot of different styles. A lot of the other people, it's like they're very limited. In fact, and here comes the plug, my second most recent CD here, I don't know if you can see this, it's called Everything. Okay, see, it's called Everything is Different. Okay, and the reason I called it Everything is Different is because everything on the CD is different. There's a doo-wop song on there, an a cappella thing. Nice. That means I'm singing in harmony for you folks who don't know all that terminology. And there's some rock and roll on there. There's actually a reggae song on there. There's a blues tune on there. There's a prog rock tune on there. And if you, I don't know if you can see the picture. I'll do this one at a time. This is me, let's just say several years ago.
Okay.
And this is me a lot more recently. Okay. And that's also why the CD is called Everything is Different, because we're different. But so that was my second most recent CD. I did a CD a couple of years ago called Songwriter Volume 1, which is songs that I wrote between the ages of like 14 and like my early 20s. We just went back in the studio and re-recorded those and came up with some cool versions of some earlier songs. Right now, since you ask, I'm working on Songwriter Volume 2, which is kind of more of the same songs from that earlier period. And also just got a new band together. We've been together about a year now. The band is always Joe Piket and the Storm, but it's been different people as we've, worked through the years. But the band I've got now, I got some fantastic people playing with me, and I am so psyched because we're going to be doing a band album. The last 3 albums I've done have been pretty much solo endeavors. But this is going to be something with the full band, with all the guys, and I'm all stoked. I'm writing some real good tunes, I think, some pretty cool stuff. Also some perspective about, not being 24 years old anymore, that kind of thing. So that's what we're working on now. We're doing some live shows. We did a show at a big club here on Long Island, my father's place in Roslyn. That was the beginning of last year. Sold out the place. Sweet. And a couple of other shows. I've done a couple of solo. I also do some unplugged kind of acoustic shows where I get to interact a little more with the audience and all, talk to them a little bit, joke with them a little bit. So keeping busy,
I love it, Joe. Listen, and I love those perspectives. I'm glad that you actually saved some of the work that you did as a teen, so you can see what your younger self and you've seen how far you've come and how much you've learned and how much pain you've endured and how much you've had to
oh, you know me.
Yeah. I guess I'm mirroring my own experience, but I know that, and listen, that's beautiful. That's fortunate. That's blessing. And look, even to the extent in which you rise to be, chosen to be the Long Island Piano Entertainer of the Year. I mean,
that was quite an honor.
You never know what's coming around this next corner. But one thing for sure is that Joe Piket, less is more when you spell that Piket. And we're going to look forward to what you have coming up on your social media channels, Joe. And I want everyone to tune into them. You'll find them below our interview today. And we're going to look forward to you coming up on FENIX360. Joe, thank you for being with me today. I really appreciate you.
John, thanks for having me, and thank you everybody for listening. And check it out. I think you'll like the music. There's a lot of different stuff on there. I think you'll like it. And John, thanks so much for having me. Everybody just be well.
Thank you, Joe. You as well. We'll see you on FENIX360 too. You take good care.
Wednesday morning at 5 o'clock as the day begins. Silently closing her bedroom door, leaving the note that she hoped would say more. She goes downstairs to the kitchen, clutching a handkerchief, quietly turning the back door key. Stepping outside, now she's free. We gave her most of our lives, sacrificed most of our lives. We gave her everything, money, 'cause she still